Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business of Business podcast. I'm Roy. Of course, we're the podcast that bring a wide range of guests covering a lot of diverse topics, aimed to help our entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business people. And today we have another fascinating guest. It's Michael Sherlock. She is the lead at Shock Your Potential. They teach leaders how to operate at a different level, leveraging the strengths of the team to achieve higher levels of success, focus on supporting corporations and business leaders with actionable strategies on leadership, employee development, customer service, and sales transformation. Michael, thanks for taking time out of your day to be with us, and welcome to the show.
You're welcome. Every time I hear, intros, I'm like, wow, I do a lot of stuff.
That's what I tell people. Like, we'll just quit here because for me, it just goes downhill once I get past my introduction. Well, I know that you deal with a lot of a wide range of customers, and in kind of our pre-show talk, you said your business that in the pandemic has shifted more from B2B to B2C, where you're, helping some people with the myriad of issues. So what are some things that you're seeing that us entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and small business people need to keep in mind or need to have our eye on going into 2021?
Well, I'll tell you what, if there's one thing we've learned, it's that we have no choice but to communicate differently. Right. And the core of everything I teach is all about communication. So, my leadership concepts are based in active questions and really, truly active listening. My sales coaching and training is all about listening and asking more questions than making pitches or assumptions. Yeah. But I think that whether you're a solopreneur, you're a small business person, you work for a corporation, the key moving forward is if you are not continuing to evolve and enhance your communication skills, you're going to get left behind. Right. Because we know that for a fact, we're going to have so much more remote work and interactions moving forward, even when the world is all fully vaccinated and turning again, right. Because we've found that it makes sense, it makes financial sense, but there's a price tag to be paid for it if you weren't a good communicator or a very clear communicator to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of people have been, we Zoom too much, and I actually have enjoyed it because it's gotten us away from these emails. Because sometimes, the message or what we're trying to convey doesn't come through as well, just in an email. So I've actually enjoyed being able to do a lot more connecting with Zoom, so you can see people's reactions, they can see yours. It just, to me, it makes the communication process much easier.
I think so too. I think there's a great advantage to it because, we can look at each other, much more directly. And it was interesting. I had a media outlet approach me for some input on, what do you do when you have employees that are displaying like bad behavior on Zoom? Maybe they're sloppy now. Maybe they're swearing. Maybe they're multitasking. What are those things? And my first response was, we were in 2020 in uncharted territory from a complete business standpoint. But at this point in time, if we haven't learned to act better on camera, right. then the core communication strategy is already broken with you. And, to be able to see somebody and realize we can operate professionally in a whole different way, and we can do it consistently, we can have great outcomes, much better than, from your point, trying to communicate through email or even sometimes getting on an airplane to go have a business or sales meeting with somebody.
Yeah, and I'll throw myself under the bus, say I'm probably that guy most of the time. I jokingly call this my Zoom shirt. I keep it hanging over here on the wall, so when I have to get on the call, I'll throw it on, so I'm not looking at my old T-shirt. But I think the other thing we need to look at from a positive perspective is this. It widens our talent pool from a geographical constriction that I think some people have always felt that we've had, that I live in my town and I need to hire in my town. maybe the talent pool is not what I need it to be, but this, I think we've proven now that a lot of jobs you can do it remotely and do it well.
Absolutely. And I think when we talked before, I think I told you that my entire team is based out of Kenya.
Yeah.
And I found not only was that affordable for me from a business standpoint, but there is incredible talent there that I would have never known.
Right.
And it's truly, something, it gives me also a different global perspective. Not even so much, from my team, but, it opened up new opportunities. We actually started a new business where we're matching people from Kenya with other businesses and small business owners around the world. But now I have a following in Kenya that I would have never had before. Wow. And as we open ourselves up to new people, new cultures, new opportunities, and we don't see the boundaries, we really, truly become global and can become global very quickly.
Yeah, and that's, as I've become older, that's something I've really realized about myself is, I grew up in a very small little bubble of, people I surrounded myself with. And, there's a big old world out there that a lot of us are just totally unaware of. So that has been another positive, is that I think it's opened up so much more, if nothing else, just to know other people's cultures and, how they live their day-to-day life as well.
Absolutely. There's a lot we can learn from it.
Yeah. So kind of speaking of that, I feel like, and I saw a survey the other day that said probably 75% of remote work is here to stay. Companies are going to have problems saying, "Hey, we need you to come back to the office now." A lot of people are going to say, "No, I'm just going to look for another position that will keep me at home." But what is your take on that? Do you feel like that the bulk of this stay at home, if you can operate at home, that the bulk will stay at home?
I think so. And I think especially for the next few years. Now, there may be a different shift after that. But one of the things that I see is that there are a lot of people who are very afraid to go back to work. Right. So even if they're vaccinated, or even if, everybody else in their office is vaccinated, we still don't know all the data. We don't know how long the vaccines last. We don't know, what else is going to occur. And although there are many of us, I think, that are very comfortable and would love to be back face to face with a lot of people, there's a lot of people who just simply aren't comfortable.
Right.
But regardless of that, I think businesses have now had to ask themselves the question, how much do we really need to spend on our overhead space?
Right.
And what is the outcome that we can get with remote workers? Some of the biggest players in the world, the Facebooks, the Googles, we're building massive brand new buildings all over the place. As those things stop, the question is, what will happen in many of those cases where workers really can be remote, maybe should come together at times.
Right.
But the cost benefit analysis is not always going to be in line for people coming back into an office environment.
Right. So what are some tips that you have for I guess being productive? And, so many people, I think this is, there were people that were scared, that felt like, I've got to have my people where I can look out my window and see them, or, look out my door and see them. And I think maybe we've changed a few minds about that, but there's still the concern from both perspectives, managers and workers, of that connection, because sometimes people are left and nobody ever reaches out to them. They feel like they've been, cast off to an island, which is probably not a good feeling for that employee. So what are some things that we can do, or how do you run your business where you can stay engaged?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. You've got two sides of the coin. You've got the employee who, if they're left alone, wonders, do I still have a job?
Right.
Because zero communication from your manager means maybe they don't think I'm important. Right. From the leadership, the management perspective, when that employee doesn't communicate, you wonder, well, what are they doing? Where are they? Are they even working? And so the key communication channel is broken down. And I know I find that with my team, and they work at different hours. And, we're 8 hours apart most of the time. And there's challenges with that, but we've become very project based. But the last couple months, I have realized that I need to be better myself at having not weekly meetings with everybody because my team's getting too large for that, but that at least every other week that I'm with somebody, and my department managers, I need to be with them once a week.
Yeah.
And I have to carve that time out of my schedule. I might not spend an hour with them, but we need to have the rhythm of that.
Right.
To be able to talk, to be able to communicate, to say, what else do you need from me? Right. And to be able to have feedback. But there are a couple other things that I think are really important, and something that I learned because my entire team is global and remote is when I couldn't get them, sometimes it'll be 5 or 6 o'clock at night my time, they're in bed.
Right.
They better be in bed. It's very late. But I have something that I want to share with them. So there'll be times when I'll hop on a Zoom meeting myself and I'll hit record and I'll say, hi, Lorna. Hey, I hope you're getting a good night's sleep. Something I want to cover with you today so that you can take a look at it tomorrow. And then I'll share my screen and I'll go through. Like maybe I'll say, hey, I know you wanted me to edit, some of our social media posts. Let me show you what I was thinking and why I changed these things. And it gives me an opportunity to teach and connect in a different way.
Yeah.
And she does the same. They all do the same back to me. They'll go, hey, Michael, I really need your help on this, this, and this. And let me share my screen. Let me show you what's going on. And that kind of communication, I'll tell you what, if I was so smart, I would have figured that out way before we had a pandemic, because it just increased our communication and our understanding.
Right.
And that's what builds trust.
Yeah, and that's an awesome idea. It's something I've never thought about, but being able to not only record the video message, but also, do the screen share so you can actually put documents and other things in front of them while you're talking about it. See there? You learn something every day. That's an awesome takeaway.
And I'll tell you what it does, you might not be speaking together at that time, but then you do have like that eye-to-eye contact. I'll speak right into the screen as if that person is there.
Right.
And you start to feel like you're together and not so alone. Whereas, even your example before, emails can be taken in a lot of different ways.
Right.
But if I do it and I have my inflections and I'm like, Roy, let me tell you, okay, we got to talk about your last, article you wrote.
Right.
You're going to hear my laughter. You're going to hear my intent. And it's not going to come across if I have some things that I need to critique you on as well.
Yeah, and case in point, I had a client last week, a new one that I hadn't talked with, and sent me a couple emails, and I was like, I cringed because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a beating. And when I finally got on the phone and talked with the guy, he was the nicest communicator. It was really good, but when I kind of judged by these couple of short, curt emails that I had received, and, I was cringing. So that's just another reminder that, emails aren't always don't always carry the intended message that others are trying to convey. So,
no kidding.
Another thing that you have done, you've got a fascinating background, but you work for two multinational medical device companies. I think the revenue exceeded about 75 million, and you had 500 employees in sales at the time. So, what are some things that have changed, are changing, or going to change? As things either drag on a little longer or maybe get back to some different form of normalcy, what are you seeing in the sales arena?
Well, I'll tell you, just from lead generation alone, I am seeing people, in my view, abuse the opportunity of LinkedIn. And let me explain what I mean by that.
Okay.
I have every day, I probably get 10 to 15 LinkedIn connection requests. Uh-huh. And I always know when it's going to be somebody who wants to sell me something, because it starts off with a line like, hey, I reviewed your profile and I think that we could have synergies and blah, 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 blah. And most of the time I accept them, because why not? I like to have, great connections. I like to be engaged with people. But I always know when I'm going to be sold. And it doesn't feel good to have somebody then start bombarding my email inbox on LinkedIn.
Right.
I've got almost 18,000 connections. So most of the time I forget about them anyway after a little bit because, the emails are replaced by somebody else trying to bombard me. But really interesting is that I think I do know that there are a lot of people who are using LinkedIn where they'll have somebody go in and start farming for them, or they're using different kind of bots and, different elements to market. So it's vastly different than sales, but they think it's sales. And by the way, this was 2 guys in a row who their message was exactly the same. And it starts off, I was trying to think of something witty to say to, make a great new connection, but I guess this is all you got. Love to connect. And when I saw the second guy and they were literally the same words, I thought, oh my gosh, now we're copying what other people are doing. This is like, what are you doing? At the end of the day, sales still has to be about individuals,
Right.
about how you establish a relationship. It doesn't mean relationship you have to be somebody's friend, but you have to make a connection.
Right.
Because if I don't make a connection with you, I can't determine whether or not what I'm selling is even of interest. But I think that right now people have had so much time that they're just throwing things at the wall, hoping and praying something will stick.
Right.
And all it's doing is turning people off. We want honesty. We want it to be, our true selves. We don't want to be sold by somebody who's now conveying what we all seem to align with sales is something that feels dirty.
Yeah.
It feels like you're, a little bit of, when I say used car salesman, we all know what I mean. And I always feel bad for actual used car salesmen because they have a bad rap.
Yeah.
But those practices are going on a lot right now. And I think it really gets to the heart of somebody's integrity in terms of how they are pushing in systems where people don't want what they're selling.
Right. Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, it's one thing to copy good behavior, but now we're copying others' poor behavior, sending out those messages. But,
yes.
I'm like you get bombarded daily with products that I wouldn't even use. And I know that they probably cast a net based on some keyword or something that they picked up. But that's the other thing that lets me know that they really even haven't done much research on me and my needs because, they're saying, hey, I can sell you a bunch of, PPE or something like that, totally not even close.
Yeah.
But, and what it's done, it spoiled it for those of us that try to use it in a responsible manner because now a lot of people, it's become like email. I think unless people know the person sending it, a lot of times it's just discarded anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I say communication is so critical and more than ever because good communicators are really making, they're making a great comeback because if they're good communicators and they're in this new unique environment, they start to stand out even better.
Right.
And that I think gives us a real competitive advantage is making sure we're asking the right questions. So, I joined this, somebody invited me to join this networking thing called Lunch Club. And it's really interesting where you can be matched up with somebody once a week and you just have it's like going to have coffee with somebody and they're trying to match you based on your interests and what you're looking for. So it's really sales networking or, interactive networking. But I've had a couple meetings there that have been just phenomenal. One that was not a right fit for me, but it was a great connection, enjoyed the conversation.
Right.
The next one I had was like a perfect match to several things we're doing. Not that I'm going to earn business from him, but there are synergies there. There are opportunities to work there together. And that's what I think is really, is interesting are the platforms and the tools that allow people to communicate and really talk.
Right.
And then when people get there, they operate in the right mindset. There can be some great outcomes to this.
Right. So, what are some other overall strategies that you're recommending to? And I know that you said that you've kind of moved to that from the B2B to the B2C. So, what are some strategies that you are putting out there to try to get people off to a fast start for the next year?
Yeah, it's really great timing that you're asking this question because I think I told you when we met before that, I had to pivot my business because prior to COVID, 95% of my business income came from me getting on an airplane
Right.
to go speak or train somewhere around the world. And I always in the back of my mind had this desire to create an app. And I wanted an app because, if you have me standing in front of 1,000 people at a conference and everybody's like, oh, we love you, we're going to buy your books, we're going to follow you, they might follow my podcast, they might, read my book, all that. But eventually you kind of lose them. And I always, for years, thought if only I had an app and that, I could say, hey, if you want to keep in contact with me, my podcast, some other trainings, lots of free stuff, some executive membership stuff, it's all in one space. And so finally with COVID, when the airplanes stopped flying and all my conferences canceled, I said, okay, this is the time. And so we created this app and we pushed it out just on beta test. And we're actually getting ready to release officially and begin actually marketing it here next week. But our beta test, just with no marketing and advertising, we have 1,000 download users all over the world. I think 25 different countries. Yeah. And one of the things that I do on there is have what I call morning motivation. So it's like a motivational message to help you get focused. And so the month of January is all about, it's a new year, keep a flexible focus. So how do you set realistic resolutions for your goal, for yourself? What are your overarching goals? And so we're breaking it down to the little bits and the steps of doing it. Things like, realize that a resolution, the definition of a resolution is the firm intent to either do something or stop doing something. And so that firm intent is the question is, are you just saying, I want to lose 30 pounds? Or are you like, my firm intent is to get promoted this year. My firm intent is to get 5 new clients. Whatever it is, but to set it. And so I've been sharing with my, I just taped all the morning motivations for the first week, but my intent for this year, for 2021, is to find synergy and balance between my business, my personal life, and my relationship with myself.
All right.
And that is something that will drive success in all those areas of my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking about those pieces of how you set that intent and, how do you get in the right frame of mind to even do it? And what happens, along the way when life starts getting in the way? Well, here we have an opportunity. And today I was just talking about scheduling for yourself, setting time every day. So in 2021, every Monday afternoon between 2 and 5, I am fully dedicated to my own development.
Yeah.
So that's either doing, working with a coach, that's reading another book, that's listening to other podcasts that are going to motivate me. But every week I'm going to dedicate time to myself, which sounds a little luxurious, but if I don't do it, how will I ever continue to grow? So it's really about setting intent, but then also following up with the actions that are going to get you there. Otherwise, it's just a great idea where 80% of people will be out of their resolution before January 31st.
Right. No, and I think that's a good point because, I was just talking to a gentleman the other day about having that good work-life balance. And I think a lot of times we focus on work or family or home life, but we leave out focusing on ourselves. So I think that's something very good to remember is that not only for self-development, but self-care, getting to the gym, taking a walk, doing whatever we need to do to keep ourselves healthy. And, it's funny. I found this meme from a few years ago that I just posted yesterday that said, I think it was Zig Ziglar, but it was motivation doesn't last. And then he says, but, bathing doesn't last either. That's why we suggest you do it every day. So, yeah, right. It's like motivation isn't just a January 1st pep talk we give ourselves and like, whoo, we're good. We're done for the year. I mean, somebody said successful entrepreneurship is not a gradual line up. It's up and down and up and down. And we have to continually find ways to not only improve ourselves, but to motivate ourselves every day. Or, there'd be days like maybe today that I would just check it up because, my morning started out pretty rough. But, we just have to celebrate ourselves, celebrate our victories, and uh, learn to move past that. But also the self-development, I think
Amen.
that's a big thing for a big thing we've learned. There's a lot of success that has come out of 2020, and I don't want to belittle the people who have been sick, the people that have been impacted with their jobs or lost loved ones. That has been
Hmm.
serious complications, but I think this is uh, it's been a real banner year for people who have been able to be creative and be able to pivot and maybe just look at things a little bit differently.
Absolutely. And it takes, I love your quote because it is so true that motivation comes in fits and spurts, but the
Yes.
only way to keep motivation flowing is to make sure you are working on it every
Right.
day, that you're, that you're focused on it. Because wherever you look, that's what you're going to see.
Right.
And when we put it behind us or we push it over to the side, we don't see it. So we're not going to act on it. It won't continue to grow inside of us.
Right. Yeah, and the other thing that you mentioned that I just we were kind of bantering around the dinner table at Christmas, and somebody talked about a dream, and it was my mother actually. It's and I kind of use that quote on her. That something like what is it that if you want to do something, it's only a dream unless you put a timeline on it, and then you can make it a goal. So I think that's important to really think about our time horizons, how long, but we have to be kind to ourselves. We can't say, I'm
Mhm.
going from 0 to 100 million, by January 29th or something crazy. We have to be
Hey, unless I win the Powerball, and that's still an
exactly,
option.
exactly right. We have to be kind to ourselves and know what is realistic, but we also have to be sure and put those deadlines and keep that focus. It's hard because life is throwing us challenges every day, every minute, but we have to focus on, I hate to always use cliches, but a lot of them are so pertinent. It's like, have a plan, and what is it? Plan your work and work your plan, but you have to stick to it. When you fall off of it, you have to have a roadmap to go back to say, this is where I need to be, where I need to be focusing my attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, we can, focus on a lot of activities that really don't push us forward, bring us more revenue. It's just busy work, and it may need to be done, but usually we can find others that can do it at a much more reasonable cost to, not taking us away from our goals and where we need to be for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that I've become so much more structured in my time and why I'm blocking more time in 2021 is that I can be easily distracted by shiny objects.
Right. Right.
And I've got a lot on my plate this year to accomplish. I can't do it without making sure I put my head down every once in a while.
Right. Yeah, and then I guess the second part of that story is to reevaluate month end, quarter end, take some point in the future, because things change, just like we've seen this year. If you had goals that you set out in January of 2020, by March or April, things had probably changed quite a bit. And even in good times, we still have to, set that time limit to reevaluate. What are we doing? Is it working? Do we need to make changes? Constant self evaluation.
Amen. I so agree.
Well, I do appreciate you taking time out of your day and the insight that you've provided. So tell me, what is a tool or a habit or some kind of a ritual that you use every day, either in your business life, personal life, but something that you couldn't do without?
Meditation and mindfulness, without a doubt. I got into it probably about 7 years ago. It has made the biggest difference in my stress levels, in my sleep, and I do it every single day. Right now, I use a course. I always talk about this, and I wish I was getting a kickback off of it every time I recommend it.
Right.
But there's a gentleman, his name is Glenn Harold, and he does hypnosis meditation. And
Right.
he's got a great app that has just a ton of everything from, if they have sleep endings, they have waking endings, they have, listen to these while you're on a walk or a jog, just a variety of things. So everything from getting mental focus to sleeping better to helping you to lose weight or have a desire to exercise. But there's one I really love, and it's called Raise Your Energy. And sometimes in the middle of the day, especially after lunch, I hit that, what I call post-Edie sleepies, when the afternoon's dragging and you've had lunch and you don't have the same urgency or energy you had in the morning.
Right.
And, you got to commit to this because it's 38 minutes. But I will lay down, put on my headset, listen to that, and it puts you in a deep, kind of hypnotic trance. I mean, you could still hear if the, fire alarms went off, you hear them, but it really, it's like a little bit of a nap, but as it brings you out of it, because it's got a wake ending, I just feel like my entire energy is infused through my body. And after I get done with that, the afternoons are just a joy. And I don't think I ever looked at my afternoons as a joy before.
Right.
So if tomorrow he didn't have that app available, I'd probably have a little bit of a minor panic attack, just because I've learned how to do it a lot myself. But it really is something that reminds me, to your point, self-care is really important to me. And that really keeps my mind and my heart and my headspace exactly in alignment.
Right. Yeah, we can, when we have that energy, we can be so much more productive and so much clearer. Sometimes just taking a simple walk for 5 minutes, it's like I have clarity, like, couldn't have even had this thought, 10 minutes ago sitting in front of the computer. So self-care is definitely something we need to keep in mind going forward as well. So
he's also a really dynamic guy. I'll just insert this real quickly. I got the opportunity to interview him for my podcast, and I was so excited. It was like, I was fangirling. And so in our app, in the Shock Your Potential app, we have a folder that's called Meditation Corner, or the Meditation Room. And in the Meditation Room, I have his interview, and he also allowed us to put 2 of his meditations on our app. So they're for sleep. And it's amazing to me that after people have listened to that interview and listened to and done the sleep meditation, I can't tell you how many people from all over the world have said, thank you. I can't believe how well I slept, and I can't wait to learn more.
Awesome. And so we can find that app in iTunes App Store, Google Apps.
Yep.
Okay.
Just type in Shock Your Potential.
Okay. We'll be sure and include
find my very
that.
Colorful logo.
Okay. I'll put that in the show notes as well, where people can reach out and download that. So if you don't mind, take a minute, tell people who is your customer, what can you do for them, and of course, how can they reach out and get a hold of you?
You bet. Well, I'll take the last question first, which you can find us at shockyourpotential.com, and that will give you everything. Although, if you are interested in our remote staffing business, it's called Kukua Biz, and that's KUQABIZ.com. And Kukua Biz is where we're matching talented professionals from Kenya with small business owners all over the world. But my customer is multifaceted now. So if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said my primary customer is a company or an organization that wants me or my team to come in and train on leadership, sales, or any other element of customer experience. But today, that is still my primary customer. My secondary customer is someone just like you, someone who needs motivation, who needs, training, who just wants to have, a lot of resources at your fingertips to help propel you professionally and business-wise. And that's where, as we really relaunch this app, it is, our followers are students in college. They are people who've been in the workforce for decades. They're people in the C-suite. They're people that are frontline salespeople in stores, you name it. And what we're finding is that we are becoming that place where if somebody wakes up tomorrow and they say, I have a job interview tomorrow and I don't know how to prepare for this, that we've got resources for them.
Oh, wow.
And it's been really fun. I mean, if somebody says, hey, I don't know how to manage stress, in my life, hey, I don't know how to have a difficult conversation with a coworker or with an employee, we've got those resources there. And so our goal is kind of world domination, I guess, that, that the app will be in everybody's hand, and that'll be the place that they say, what do I need to do to get a promotion? What do I need to do to get that new job? what do I need to do to prove that I'm ready for a leadership position, and that it'll be their go-to resource.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll be sure and include that. Y'all go out and download it. Reach out, give Michael a call. I know that she can help you in a wide range from leadership to sales to all the above in the app there. Be sure. You can find us, of course, at www.thebusinessofbusinesspodcast. We're also on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, this will go live on YouTube as well. So, again, Michael, thank you for your time. Until next time, take care of yourself and please take care of each other.